Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Consider product placement with Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Visit our website at jmmbmediallc.com to discover digital products to 10x your business. Contact us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. Andrew Carnegie. Today we welcome Andrea MacKenzie. Andrea MacKenzie is a hiring strategist and team and leadership development expert who helps growth-oriented small business owners and executives hire, develop, and lead their teams towards higher performance, lower stress, and stronger leadership. She is a certified professional coach and award-nominated COVI certified consultant. Andrea brings her 20-plus years in corporate roles and consulting that spans almost every business function and size, from small businesses to Fortune 500s, through her unique approach to serving her clients. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me, Ruth. Appreciate it.
Welcome,
and
my
Ida
dear.
as well.
So how did you get on this road? I need to know that.
Ooh, how did I get on this road? Well, it's an interesting story. I mean, I feel like everybody's got their ups and downs. I started off as a musician. So it's kind of how did I go from musician to team building? I think I came to Los Angeles wanting to be a musician. I kind of came out of school and ended up in lateral job to lateral job because I had a music degree. And I think what that did for me, at the time there might have been a sob story, but what I think the opportunity was and how that was sort of for me was that I was that unicorn sort of super hard worker, young person who just would do whatever it took to do a great job. I always sort of gave my all. And yet I found myself moving from lateral job to lateral job, from one job to the next, just kind of like, where am I? How do I fit someplace with the creativity and all these things without having this, typical resume to sort of back it up. And as I moved along, I was like, all right, you got to go get some sort of calling card that says you're valid here. I went back and got my MBA at the University of Southern California, and sort of cut off my creativity to learn about business. And the number one thing that I knew going into that was it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. And what being in business school taught me, or not even taught me, what I knew before I went in there was when you're getting an education, people will talk to you. And so I just used that opportunity to just learn and open doors and talk to folks all over the industry that I was interested in at the time was the entertainment industry. And I ended up in consulting, which the way I think of it is like where you go and you don't want to know what you want to do when you grow up. It's like, might as well just jump into the fire and have somebody throw you to the wolves. And basically you just go in and do whatever that we solve problems. That's what you do. You go in and you solve problems, but you also work on a gank load of teams. So as I started to learn about, this is what it's like to work on this kind of technical team, or this what it's like to work with, the EVPs and the SVPs and the C-levels and all these different kinds of teams, and also working with offshore and all this kind of stuff. It was like, okay, there's something more to it's interesting going all the way back to people not necessarily knowing where to place me because of my resume. There's so much more to this than what we know. There's so much more to how people work together than here's my resume, here's what I know how to do, here's what I learned. There's so much more to relationships than that. And so, I just kept digging in. I went out on my own as a consultant over 10 years ago now, And as I did that, I got myself a business coach. And it was funny when somebody said to me, you need a coach. I rolled my eyes and I was like, well, a coach, what is that all about? And slowly but surely realized it was one of the most empowering, amazing modalities. So I became a coach. And that's kind of the story, the melding of the consulting world and the business brain with the emotional side of what do you really want, and what does it mean to go for and bring your best on all aspects of who you are, not just here's what I learned and kind of that cookie cutter kind of thing.
And I like what you're talking about, because the resume thing is only a snippet of who you are. Like in my work, I do IT. Okay, my resume doesn't reflect the patience that I have, the the emotional fires that I put out daily when people call me and say, I can't print. And they're hysterical, you got to calm that down first. And I'm a certified life coach as well. And I use my skills in technology because most people are afraid of it, that don't understand it. And as soon as something happens, they go into this meltdown mode. What did I do? And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be you. So you have to go. So what you're saying is so valid. Just putting in a resume does not give the whole story of who that person is.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, because we all know that the tech support person, right, who either calms you down and makes you feel like they're rolling out the red carpet for you as the client, versus the one who's like, don't you get it? Click on the thing,
Right.
It's so easy. It's like, no, calm me down first, right? That's so true. It's so true. I was in tech support for a little while myself, in technical sales. And yeah, absolutely. You've got to talk people down a little bit off of the emotional ledge before you can help them. Exactly. And that's true as anything in leadership, right? That's what we're talking about, is how do you create strong leadership? It's all about listening and being receptive and letting, your judgment sort of swarm, sort of like melt over you before you let it out into the world. Just kind of really picking up on what people are feeling about what they're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to do that, Really.
So what are some of the blind spots that perpetuate stress and conflict and even burnout, which is a big issue right now in the workplace?
Yeah, well, that's a really good follow-up question there, Ruth, because what's a huge blind spot than not paying attention, than not sitting down with people and talking to them and having conversations, right? People want, I think there's a big shift, like there's a big thing on the news right now about quiet quitting. I don't know if you guys have heard quiet, and, and some people may look at that and go, oh, people are entitled, this and that, like this whole feeling of, oh, young people, whatever that kind of talk is, right? But at the end of the day, right, we're looking at 168 hours or something a week we have in our lives, right? Then you take away the 8 hours we sleep, if we sleep 8 hours, and you've only got half your waking life left after you work 40 hours. If you're working, or I should say closer to 56 hours, if you're working 40 hours, it's still almost half your waking life. Yes. Why do we want to go someplace for half of our waking life where we don't care for ourselves, where people don't care for us, right? So a huge blind spot is either punishing people for prioritizing themselves and prioritizing their personal care and their self-care, or some of the companies that really don't see this are the ones that actually do the opposite, which is they reward people for giving up who they are. Yes. They reward people for giving up their personal care. And it's interesting because you see that more in the companies where they'll say, oh, you have unlimited time off, and we have such a great culture here and all these things, and you get people in the door, and then everyone that's not taking the time off and giving up everything about their own personal care and their own personal time and working weekends or whatever else are the ones that get rewarded. So then you're basically doing the same thing everyone else is doing. So, people, I think that I'm actually kind of excited about a generation of people coming up saying, you know what, I'll take a pay cut for a place that lets me care for myself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I think there's something really empowering about that. Honestly, right?
I think so too.
It actually makes more sense to work less, earn less, and have a quality of life that that isn't beating you up. Because what a lot of people have felt is that their work life, and the pandemic did this to everybody, everybody took a step back. So they got a chance to see what it was like to not travel for 2 hours to get to work and fight through traffic and all that craziness. And they had more time with their families.
Yes.
They had more time with themselves. And so now they're kind of like saying, well, that's much more important. And actually it is. If you can
Yes.
get the same quality of work and the same productivity of work, which is really what you're asking for, any company wants, with fewer hours, people putting in fewer hours, that makes sense, rather than having people sitting in front of a desk who are basically filling time. You know, the ones who doodle, the ones who spend their time at the water machine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because they're just trying to get through the days. So
Yes.
I think it's really an issue for many companies to make that adjustment. We are not the same world that we were pre-pandemic. That world is gone.
And it was
trying to
about
bring
the
it back
fall.
is going to make it very difficult.
And it was about the fall anyway. Because
yeah.
when you're on a job, you get the water cooler conversations. Everybody is hating on the job. Everybody is hating one aspect of the job or the other. It's not the people you work with. It's the culture.
Yeah.
It's what, and that's what you hear. So the pandemic just hurried it up, but it was already in motion.
Well,
Been in motion for a long
one of the
time.
things I think has been a little bit excessive over the last, I don't know, it's even 5 years, maybe more, has been people bonding over what they don't like. People bonding over hate, people bonding over, to your point about getting to a water cooler and being like, let's just, moan about this and that together, and you're bonding somehow, and that somehow feels good, but it's like a dopamine hit or something to talk about all this negativity, and it really spirals. And this is happening not just at work, it's happening at home, it's happening with friends everywhere. It's like you could walk into a room and tell them who you don't like, and people would start cheering rather than right, so, that kind of thing, right? So it's like that's one cultural thing just in general, I think, that's happening. The other thing, and this is more to, I think, something that Ruth said kind of tipped me off on this one, is, and this is something I'm really big on, is understanding fit. Right? Because if you're in a job that's a great fit for you, you could probably do the same thing as somebody else in less time. And why should you be punished for that? It's like, if you can get done in 6 hours with somebody else get done in 8, and the company's getting whatever it is they're trying to get from that same person, why does it matter how much time we really spend? I think we're stuck in this trading time for dollars concept,
right?
Which is really, really a mental issue for everyone, right? Because we're trying to make everything fair and perfect, and there's no such thing, right? It's like you bring your best, you bring your all. You are responsible for your own life and your own thing. And that's just not what corporate America necessarily teaches you. I mean, sometimes if it takes you more time, you get rewarded for that. Like, we have to go back and look at what are we rewarding people for? What are we discouraging people about? Are we putting people in the right places for the right fit? Are we looking at diversity, not just from the typical things we think of when we think of diversity, but things like neurodiversity and how we solve problems and things like that? There's so much opportunity to be had when we put more care into it, which is one of the reasons why I spend so much time on hiring. Because for me, it is the number one opportunity for any business owner to grow their business or to solve any sort of problem in their business. If they have the opportunity to hire, it's a time to reassess everything in your business and go, okay, what do I really, really need here? And there's a lot of mistakes that happen in the hiring process that cause all the other mistakes and all the other problems that are going on in our business. So if you got a hiring opportunity, spend the time to do it right.
Absolutely. And before we go any further, 1 second, Riff. I just want you to how do people get in contact with you?
How do they get in contact with me? Great question. Well, I'll just throw my email out there right now, Andrea@leadwithharmony.com. My website is leadwithharmony.com. So you can go to the website, you can email me, or if you want to just follow me on social media, I'm on LinkedIn under linkedin.com/in/Andrea MacKenzie, or any of them, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I've got a business page under Lead with Harmony. So many ways to get in touch with me. Yes.
So, okay, well, that's good. So people do have a number of ways of getting in touch with you. But I want to ask you, you are a certified Kolbe consultant. What is that, and what are the Kolbe assessments?
Yeah, I love this question. A lot of times when I'm saying, all right, if you're going to hire somebody, make sure you're hiring somebody and you know what they want, what they know, and what they do, right? And what they want is probably one of the hardest things to actually get from somebody in a hiring scenario. You really got to dig on people in terms of their passion and what they care about and all of that. What they know is that resume piece, right? We're looking at education, we're looking at past experiences. What they do, how they solve problems, is Kolbe. So it's not a personality assessment. It's not telling you what you like and what you don't like, or where your passions lie, or what you care about, or anything like that. Or if you're a people person or an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't tell you any of that. It's not telling you what you know. It's telling you how you solve problems. So when I was first introduced to Kolbe, I was already an assessment junkie. I had taken a million things, DISC and MBTI, all the typical ones, strengths, find all of them. And I love all of them. Like, I'm not knocking any of them. But when I saw what Kolbe was able to do and pinpoint from a very specific point of view, how it tells you how you share and gather information, how you organize and design, how you deal with risk and uncertainty, and how you deal with space and tangibles. So if you want to use this to align people with how they do things, how they approach problem solving, it's a very quick win, a very objective assessment, and it's also EEOC compliant. So you can actually use it in hiring. You can assess what your expectations are of the role. How do you need people to work that way? And then go ahead and assess them before you hire them to know, okay, this person, for example, if you say somebody needs to be highly detail oriented, you would know from this assessment whether they're going to be on the right part of that spectrum, right? Or if you need somebody to be super multitasking, switching off on tasks constantly, you would know whether they were that person, right? So there's lots of different things that you can use it for in terms of aligning people, looking at conflict, looking at stress, so many things. It's very deep on one specific part of the mind, which is the cognitive part of the mind, how you solve problems. I love it. I literally got certified in it in 2000, at the beginning of 2015. And I think I was nominated for an award the year later because I just went crazy. I was like, this thing is like the closest thing I've ever seen to a magic bullet. And just sort of knowing something really important about somebody before you even meet them.
And that's important stuff to know.
Yeah.
That's very important stuff to know.
Yeah. How do they solve problems? And that's probably one of the biggest things I can say that in the past, that honestly, people never looked at. How do people solve problems? They looked more at the qualifications. They were resume readers. And then they assumed from your resume and your educational qualifications that, oh yeah, this person will be good. They went to Harvard.
Yes, Ruth. And how many of us have had jobs that we could put on our resume that we were terrible at? Or that we didn't enjoy doing, right. Or that was so painful, even if we were great at it. I mean, that's exactly my story. I mean, I went into project management where, think places where I had to tick and tie things and track things really succinctly. I was great at it. I was a rock star at it. You would have gotten a great reference from me, super highly organized or whatever somebody would have said, but it's not me. I was stressed out all the time. I was probably not a very nice person to be around, to be honest with you, while I was doing it, because that's what happens to you when you lose sight of how do you really work? And I think it's also really great for people as individuals when they're looking at, what's my next step here, right? To all the quiet quitters out there, right? I guess that's what I'm saying, right? If you feel like you're not in the right fit job, go find this out about yourself, because you might be banging your head against a wall for no reason, trying to do something that you're never going to find your stride in. And that's what Kolbe will tell you. It's a pretty cool assessment.
So
Yeah, and I don't work for Kolbe, so right, I'm here talking about it. I don't work for them, but I love it. I think it's great. It's a great assessment.
So how do people access that? It's like there's a quiet quitter. How do they access that? The Kolbe assessment?
It's a good question. I mean, of course, they can reach out to me, email me, or reach out to me on social or on my website. But anybody can go right on Kolbe.com, KOLBE.com, take the assessment.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not stopping you. But if you want to understand it, I would say find somebody like myself who's a Kolbe certified consultant to help you understand it. Because the first time I took it, it was required of me for a reason. That I was in a group, I was in a mastermind, like, take this assessment. I looked at it, didn't quite get it, and threw it in a bin until somebody explained it to me, and then I was like, oh, that's what this is telling me. So I think it's a huge missed opportunity to take it and think you understand it, because it's actually has a very high learning curve, and it's very complicated, which is one of the things that it stresses me out as a Kolbe certified consultant. I try to explain to people, and it takes a while. It takes a while to let it sink in. I would say definitely get some coaching around it.
So
that's really important.
So in other words, you work with companies, and do you work with individuals as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I work with a lot of entrepreneur business owners, a lot of people that, every once in a while I'll take on the career coaching client, somebody who really, somebody who's come to me and said, I know you can help me. And it just sort of works out that way. But for the most part, I'm working with business owners, helping them understand their leadership style, which part of that is how they work. Part of that is their brand, right? And, there's really just kind of that, I subscribe to that sort of Richard Branson concept of, like, you treat your employees better than your clients, right? So if you've got that on lock around what is your brand and what is that amazing experience you roll out to your clients, you want to roll out that same experience to your employees, because they're going to be touching your clients. You want it to be they're two sides of the same coin. You're going to be marketing to your potential employees. You're going to be marketing to your potential clients, right? It's a very similar process. And I think a lot of people forget that they need to extend that brand to the people they're going to bring onto their team. And of course, once you bring people on your team, generally speaking, you need to bring in more clients. So it's, it's kind of like both sides of that. You're growing. My typical client is growing. That's really what it is. It's somebody who knows they need to hire. They know they've got people on their wait list ready to go, and they just see that building. You need more people if you're going to grow.
Yes, you do. And I say that.
Or major automation would be the other thing, right? But that's, that's my old world of IT consulting, which also touches on people, by the way.
Absolutely.
Still going to have
evolves around people.
Entering data. You want them to have a certain way of problem solving. You want them to be attention to detail and organize and all these things. So, there's always data in, data out, and that's another side of it. Absolutely. Tech setup and all that.
We're going to have you again, because this is a really definitely broad topic. And we would love to have you back to just, talk about different areas to focus on, because this is not a one-time thing that you can one-time hear it and really get it. I think that you need to hear this information, and you know how we are as humans. It's like over and over, and then, I got it. So we would definitely want you to come back. And again, how do people get in contact with you?
Okay. Andrea at leadwithharmony.com. Also note that when you go there will be a pop-up for a free job advertisement checklist that you can grab if you are hiring, which will touch a little bit on some of the things we talked about today. I'd also like to offer a code for something, if that's okay. Can I offer something to your audience?
Absolutely.
So I have this little I'm an audio girl, I come from that music background. I have this little delegation visualization that kind of puts you in the mode of, what do I need to delegate? What does it feel like when I'm delegating the right things? It's called the Delegation Manifestation Guided Visualization. You can find it at delegationvisualization.com. And for your audience, it will be free. It's normally $37, but the code is minding business.
Okay. So it's
okay. Minding business.
Okay. Minding business is the code. Thank you so much. And what's the site again?
Delegationvisualization.com.
Visualization. I'm definitely going to do that myself.
And visit leadwithharmony.com. That's another place to go find out and get your free checklist. There's all kinds of information on there about what I'm doing.
So it's
connect on LinkedIn,
okay,
Facebook, all the places.
Yeah, so we're gonna definitely have you again, because I'm in that place where I'm ready to start hiring. So you right on time.
All right. Yes, you want to do it right? It's
yes, I do.
A delicate thing.
I know how the culture of the company, how I want it to be. I'm a collaborator. I don't believe that I know everything. I want people that are smarter than me and can bring and be creative and bring ideas. So
and another big misnomer too about collaboration, and I'm there with you. It's knowing when and when not to collaborate, and that's something else that you can pick apart as you get to know your team members. There are times we just need to go work by ourselves. There's absolutely times. I think that's another big issue. So you can be very strategic about things when you really know your people, and that's really what I'm a big proponent of is know them, be a conscious leader. Listen, be receptive, try to not be so reactive around judgments and things like that, right? And I'm assuming you guys are pretty with a crop with that stuff. So, just practicing all of that is the important thing.
Wow. Andrea, thank you so much for blessing our platform and providing our listeners with this important content. And we are definitely going to have you again, because I think we need to really talk about this more and more, about the relationships, because people they talk about it, but they're not always about it, living it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what's really critical. Everybody agrees good relationships is great, but not all people work towards that.
And it's practice. It's like anything else. Like, I'm a musician, right? Ooh, I think I just did something in my headset there. If I don't play my guitar, not going to be so good at it next week, right? So it's the same thing with leadership. You've got to practice the things that, yes, you could be a great person and all that stuff, but if you're not putting it into practice, it'll fall by the wayside
quickly.
So.
Wow. Thank you so much, my dear. And we can't wait to share this with our audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.